Welcome, honored guests. This is Yourself.Podcast. I am your host, Dre, and I'm so happy to see everybody here today. And I'm so glad that all of our listeners are back. I do apologize for my little medical hiatus. I still don't know what's wrong with me. I will be going to a specialist today and hopefully be 100% for you. Even though I look and feel 100%, who knows? I don't know what goes inside you know, in this cave in here. So, anyhow, but today's special guest, who I am so honored to have, is our friend Lori. She is a licensed therapist here in the great Sin City of Las Vegas. And we're going to be just talking a little bit about therapy, uh, her journey to become a therapist, how she became a therapist, why, and all of that. So we'll get into it. How are you today, Lori?
I am well.
I'm glad you're doing well. I really am grateful for your time because I know time is valuable. Time is also money sometimes, and so I appreciate you coming on to the podcast. And our team is excited. I have a small little tech team that's behind me, not literally, but they're behind me
Yeah.
on the podcast. But so I just want to get go ahead and get into it. I don't want to hold you up too long today, but I know you've mentioned that you were by watching you on social media, that you mentioned you were a life coach at one time, and then you felt did you feel like that was a calling at first, or did some kind of circumstance get you into that sort of profession
You
at
got
first?
you got it backwards, girl. Okay.
Okay.
So first I was the therapist, and then now I've fallen into life coaching as well. So I'm a therapist in Vegas and a life coach everywhere else. So with life coach, so the difference between therapy and life coaching is that um, therapists, like what therapy mostly we use insurance is, and then we go through that, and so but difference between life coaching is that I'm not going to sway you from having a therapist as well as a life coach. So with life coaching, and a lot of therapists, so I've been a licensed therapist now for 16 years. Um, 3 as an intern and going on my 13th year as fully licensed.
Okay.
And so a lot of therapists tend to go the life coach route. And it's just a different way of kind of like lessening our caseload and having a little bit more fun because you can kind of go in a little bit of different directions.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you support people. I just become a coach. So, I'm your coach. Like, just coach you, whether it's with life, whether it's with yeah, business, different things. So whatever my experiences that I have in my life, I just bring to the table. And you can't really take the therapist out of me. So I'm not technically doing therapy with you, but I'm not using my license. Does that make sense?
So you're just kind of like giving them coping skills or helping
So
them
I'm coach. So basically, like so whatever's going on at that time. So I don't have to rely on my license because I'm not licensed in all 50 states, and I do have some international clients. So then they were living in the states and they relocated. So I have a couple clients in the UK and I have a couple clients in New Zealand. So like. And I meet actually with him later today. So he was living in the Carolinas and then he relocated to New Zealand, but he already has the continuity with me.
right.
And he's all over the place. So we just coach him in different areas, his career, things like that. So does he need a therapist? Is it hard to find one in New Zealand? In Australia, I'm finding out the answer to that is yes, as I navigate different countries, which is very interesting to me. So
That seems like a very hard mountain to climb, for especially for people out of the United States. I
well,
didn't
yeah.
even
So to
think.
navigate whole new system and not really being you're still in a guest in that country. He's using a like so and navigating the immigration. So I helped him with that, and that was like an interesting path. So I learned something from everybody when I take on a role as a life coach. It's a little bit more laid back. It's not as difficult as therapy sometimes, but it doesn't mean it doesn't get difficult, if that makes sense.
So it's more like practical skills as opposed to life skills that will rewire or re
Well,
re.
yeah. So I'm not going to say that I'm like so. if you looked it up and looked at the difference between life coach and therapist, it says that basically it doesn't replace that the need for therapy. But you also can't take the therapist out of me either.
Right.
So if I become that person that has your back per se, um, I'm also gonna like maybe sway you to read this book or that book, or we'll go through a book together. That's just a self help book,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all psychoeducational in nature, but it's also therapeutic at the same time. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Because you're still going to learn something. It's kind of like what I do on TikTok. You're still going to learn something, but I'm not doing therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving out information, and then they're just paying me. They're just paying me for my time
Right. Right. Okay.
and to
So,
coach them into certain situations.
do you think that your early days of being a therapist, and then kind of also being the life coach, do you think that um, that you did it for the love of the client? Do you think that you did it for self confidence and or income or plus income?
No, so I started life coaching when I moved from Vegas to South Carolina, and then when a few of my clients relocated out of the country. So that was in the height of the pandemic. And so I didn't want them to lose that continuity that we had. So they knew how to get a hold of me. And it was that level of transition because um, they no longer had insurance or whatever the case may be. So it was like, I wasn't gonna, like, there was no one for me to refer them to. And so I started looking, did a deep dive into life coaching, and that's kind of how that happened. It was more for continuity and making sure that they were okay and had the help that they needed until they either found someone to replace me or no longer needed me.
Mm.
So actually, everything that I've done so far, Dre, hasn't been about the money. It's always been about helping people,
And what?
especially in the valley.
Yeah. What did you ever have any doubts or fears in, even before your life, in your career life, and you were thinking about getting into that sort of field? um, I only know that I have just a little bit of life experience with therapy and not so much life coaching, but my mom was a licensed therapist for for basically her whole life. So I was like maybe 11, 12, 13 years old when
Mm,
she started getting her degrees and getting her licenses. So she'd come home and she'd say, "Okay, you're going to do homework with me. So you're going to be the client and I'm going to be the therapist." And so I was kind of the guinea pig for everything. And I would say, and I would, when I would play around her stuff or she'd ask me like a deep question, I would say,
right,
"Mom, please, this is not the time to analyze me. Don't be my therapist, be my mom." So
right.
when you were first deciding that that's what you wanted to be in life, did you have doubts or fears about, like, how am I going to conquer this? How am I going to help people? Which way do I want to help people?
So it's a funny story. So so I already had, by the time I got my degree in marriage and family therapy, I already had a bachelor's and a master's. So I've been helping people prior to that in some capacity for about 25 years. So, um, fun fact, one of my first jobs was here in Vegas was to be a camp counselor at the Y, at the original Y, the Y
Meadows,
on
over by the
yes,
mall.
yes,
Okay, yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So my friends and I would volunteer. We did it from about 18 to 20 or 21. I can't remember how long, but we would volunteer 3 weeks out of the summer. And I met a kiddo. Um, uh, his name was AJ. Let's just call him AJ. And he was a foster care kid, and came up on scholarship. And all of the kids had goals when they came. Is when for some reason I always got stuck with the teenagers. I don't know. It was just a lot of fun. So me and my best friend got stuck with the older kids, and so we would set their goals pretty high. And so AJ, he set his goals, and he told me his story. And this is the first time I've ever came across a kiddo that came from a very hard place, where his parents and all of that, and he was older, so he was going to age out of the system. And so once we got done with that, and so when we got back down from the mountain, it was on the Lee Canyon side. It's a Girl Scout camp up there. And so, oh, it's now the Girl Scout camp up there, but back in the day, it used to be the YMCA. So after we got back down from the mountain, after a week at camp, he was left. His foster parents never came and got him
From the actual mountain?
from the actual Y to pick him
Oh,
back up. They
oh,
dropped him
okay.
off.
I
They
see.
dropped him off, but they never come pick him up. So we had to get the police involved. CPS came involved. So this was my first exposure to child welfare. So, and I looked at him and he had like big crocodile tears. Like, I don't think I'll ever forget him. And so I told him, we worked on him rising above certain things and his circumstances or staying in his circumstances. So we worked really hard on the mountain, and then he didn't know that he wasn't going to be picked up. But a few years later, it was a couple years later, he somehow found me, and everything that he set out to do, he did. So he got accepted to a school where he could be an architect. He rose above his circumstances. He aged out of the foster care system, and then he found me a few years later to let me know that he did all of this. And so that was like it. That AJ was always in the back of my head. So like, and then coming up as a therapist, deciding that after I worked in a job where I was super nanny, where I worked with a lot of parents and did parenting, and I went into people's homes here. So, and they used a particular curriculum to where I was like, it was straight up parenting, but it was also therapy. So, which I was trained. So then I saw therapists doing something different that I was doing. And I was like, what are they doing? So that made me want to get a higher skill set. So then that's when I decided to go back at 37 to get my second master's in marriage and family therapy. So I didn't have any doubts. I knew that, and I've always not did things non-traditionally, because like I wanted to be a social worker at first, but social work requires you to take a GRE, which is a test that like Jeopardy, and it gave me an eyeball headache. So I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. So I always found a way around things. So by this time I already knew that I had ADHD. So I was already neurodivergent. I already knew I had dyslexia, and I was going to get my second master's. So none of that deterred me. I had my mindset. I was going to become a therapist. I paid to find out that I can't become a therapist, all the things. 3 years later, I graduated with my degree. Like, everyone was more focused on their GPA than I was. Like, I was the kind of student, like, we did 6-week classes. I took a week off. So then I got an A- instead of an A. I still got the paper. And found a wonderful supervisor that I worked under. And that's when I started to really get to work. So at first, a lot of therapists will have a lot of anxiety about screwing up, because we're dealing with people, and so I was really anxious about certain topics, not dealing with people itself or talking or sitting down. Like, I can connect and form a relationship with the person and meet them where they're at pretty quickly, even as an intern. And then my skills just sharpened as I've been licensed. So I was more scared of like topics like suicide, if they have like very intrusive thoughts, especially with kids.
Right.
And so plus it was ingrained into me in the previous position that I held, that if someone said, I hate green beans and I want to die if you make me eat these green beans, we would have to go assess. So that was my thought. It was my thought process. So if they really meant it, then I needed to go assess. Yeah. So at first, I would get out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning and go deal with it. And now I'm like on the phone going, okay, let's just get down to the brass tacks of things. Because I really don't want to put anybody in the hospital. And I really don't want to put, especially an adult and or a child. But I have taught parents how to hospitalize their kids to keep them safe. And the hospitals here in Vegas, basically, even with adults, they're for safety and stabilization.
Mm-hmm.
So you spend a few days in there, you get under the care of a doctor. You can some participate in the group therapy, some don't, most don't. But and I work with the parents on the outside when their kids are in the hospital, and then I also will help them if they have to do it again. They'll know exactly how to do it, and a lot of times they'll contact me, and then I'll contact the hospital, and we'll make sure there's a bed, and then they go down, etc., etc. So suicide was a big thing for me,
Mm-hmm.
and used to scare the shit out of me. Not so much these days. Now I'm like, if you're gonna, let's go, let's. But people who want to die don't talk about it.
That is
So
very true. That is very true.
yeah, and so
Yeah,
yeah,
I had an experience. That's why one of the things that which and later on I'll ask you to let people know where they can find you and all that. But I was watching you
shit.
on social media, and you were talking about who was interested in grief and having that as a subject. And I remember, because I'm a recovering addict, I remember a point in my life where I had lost my mom, who was the closest to me. Like, she was my
Right,
person, right? And I think that people, when they lose their person, because you go through life losing a lot of people. I mean, obviously, we're all going to end up there
right,
at some point.
right,
But some people don't possibly take on grief so heavy if it's not their person, right?
right,
Until they get that person and that person is gone. And so my mom was my person. And I remember not telling a soul. And I went and I got as high as I could, and I attempted. Luckily, my pickup malfunctioned, which
right,
should have, because it never had before. So
right,
I felt like something was saying, nope, this is not the way to go. And
right.
so when I was going through therapy, and I've been through therapy on and off my entire life, and it seems like sometimes when I was in therapy, I had this I don't know what to call it. It's not a talent. I'm ashamed to say, um, but I had this thing where I learned how to manipulate my therapist to where we ended up talking about their problems instead of my
Well, that's your
problems.
mom. I think that comes from your mom.
Could be.
That comes your mom being a therapist, and you know. So here's the thing: I know when someone's been in therapy is because of the way that they talk.
Okay.
So the thing is this: is that if you're gonna go in back into therapy, right, and
Yes.
you're gonna bullshit me,
Yes.
what's the sense of going to therapy?
Yeah, and see, the thing is like, I don't know if it's my ego saying, "Hey, you
Well,
know how
right,
to
you're like
fix yourself."
you're not ready to deal with that shit yet. So like that's the thing. So like anyone that comes into therapy, it has to be comfortable. You have to trust that person. That person becomes your person.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, and this and but there's boundaries. There's like there's not, but they become a secured attachment for you,
Yes.
or they should.
Yes.
Okay, but there's boundaries and there's guidelines and there's rules and all the things. There's ethics and all the things, but you're also going to have to you're going to tell your deepest darkest secrets to, and ultimately at the end of the day that person has your back,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to do all the heavy lifting. So if you put yourself in therapy and you find yourself manipulating or trying to manipulate your therapist, you need to take a step back and go, why the fuck am I in therapy?
Yeah, and see, a lot of times I did that. In fact, the last therapist I thought I was in therapy with, I mean, we ended up every weekend talking about the problems he had with his grandfather and why he had those
Well,
problems
you
and
have some
when
skills, right? That's the thing. So your mom like practiced on you and you picked up shit along the way from 13 on. So
Yes,
like,
yes, but
and so
there's so much in me, and I remember telling this therapist, I have coals instead of where my heart should be. My heart
mhm.
is here, obviously, in my chest canal, but there's pieces of coal, COAL, on
Right.
top of it and going all around it, and I need to dig it out. But yet, how's your grandfather doing today? And then we would go into that. And then I would say, well, that helps me a little bit. But so that question to me, I want to transition into this question for you
Okay.
is how or how did you have what kind of work did you have to do on yourself at any point of time
Oh
throughout
my
any
God.
port it didn't have to start it doesn't have to start like when you started in therapy or then went into life coach, but were there places within that time frame that you were
Yeah.
like had to look inward and say,
Yes.
I see what
Yeah.
I'm doing here, I'm not
So
there.
it's a funny thing because so once I got my degree and once I got licensed as an intern, you work under someone's license. So my supervisor is absolute, like when I tell you she oozes therapy, like she's a therapist just by when she just says hi and it, right? She just or you would walk into her office. I would walk into her office and it was like the most refreshing, comfortable place ever. And she just thought I was all kinds of crazy because she caught on to my ADHD and would be like, "You just need to keep." She'd be like a dragnet on me, like Lori, just keep to the facts because I give extra information. I can't help it. I'm a story fucking teller. It is what it
Yes.
is, right?
Yes.
But she would always say, until this day, I still don't really have a solid understanding, but who you are at your core. Who are you at your core, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be like asking her questions like, what do you mean? Like, I don't understand. Like, who am it's like it's very existential. Like, who am I? I don't fucking know. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so but every decade, like something happened, or like so we have no choice. Like as a therapist, we have no choice but to continue to work on our stuff. I like so this is my favorite tattoo. It says perfectly imperfect. And it is imperfect. It had blown out from the time he did it. I never went back and got it fixed because of what it says.
Oh, okay.
Because
Okay.
by writing show, he should have fixed it because it blew out. He was heavy handed, but it's perfectly imperfect. So, like, the thing is that at the end of the day, there have been times where I have not seen certain clients because I was going through something in my life. So, this therapist has a therapist. And it's really hard for therapists to have a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
so, but my therapist is also a sadist and a hydra because she also like listens to me and said, okay, you want me to make you uncomfortable? I'm going to make you uncomfortable.
Mm.
This is how we grow.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going in there going to bullshit her. Like I can try to bullshit her, but she's going to call me on my shit. She always did. And luckily enough, I found her. And then I was very fortunate to go to a couples counseling, and her name was Dr. Joe. She passed away, but she studied with um, the founders of a strategic modality of therapy. I call them the Milan dudes, but it's just strategic therapy, and it's family therapy. But she studied in Milan, she studied abroad, and she looked at me, she looked at my partner, she said, "Just don't get married." Okay, I was like, "Okay, done." I was like, because we were there. That's what we were there for. And my partner at the time was so mad
Oh,
and
okay.
like just took it and ran with it. And just, but anyways, but I was fortunate enough to have some really good therapists along the way and know myself to the point to where I know what I can do and what I can't do.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then when I was going through getting divorced, I wasn't going to do couples counseling because that's not fair to couples. When here my whole marriage is disintegrating, like why would I see a couple? So
Right.
like
Right.
it was really hard. And so I took time for myself. I had good bound, I knew that it was I was in no shape to try to help anybody at that point besides myself.
Mm.
And that's the thing. So I have like interns that work under me now that I'm a supervisor. Like I have two rules: don't do harm and don't lose my license. We work too hard. You work too hard to get your license. I work too hard to get my license. And the number one rule is to do no harm.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
so, and can I tell you that I failed epically at a lot of things over the past 16 years? Absolutely. Have I gone back and tried it again? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and I find that therapy is a very helpful tool for those that are willing to do the work.
Yeah.
You can bullshit me all you want, like, but I worked child welfare for 13 years because of AJ. So I built my whole agency in Las Vegas when I was a partner. We did child welfare, and I worked with the Department of Family Services, and we got kids out of foster care or we found them forever homes, and I did that for 13 years here.
I see that there is a certain part of you that does connect with like the high risk youth.
Hmm.
I could tell that right away when I first met you.
Yeah, I'm one of those kids. I was one of those kids. Like growing up here, I was one of those juveniles.
Mm-hmm.
I got kicked out of school. They fired me. My mom wasn't happy about it,
Yeah. And
but
it's
I
funny.
didn't.
It's funny because when you grow up, well, it's hard enough to grow up here in the city, but in any inner city that you grow up,
Right,
I grew up in Detroit,
right,
and it was so rough. I mean, I had kidnapping attempts many times.
right,
I had my house was broken into many times. We had up to 10 deadbolts on our doors at times. I mean, we lived really rough. And there was many times when there just wasn't any food, period. You know, you just
right.
had to deal with it. But I think that in your type of work, um, because you help people out mentally, they
Mm.
end up helping themselves out physically, like not in a healthier way, but or maybe so, but in a way to better their lives, because that's the direction you're trying to help them in. And I
Yeah. So there's a lot of times, like, so like if you work with families, like, so you said, like, so it's just it's Maslow. So like if you talk about, so if someone's, so if they still have their kiddos, right, and they're worried about keeping a roof over their head, keeping food in their bellies, getting a job, doing those things, like, I'm not going to go do therapy with them because it's no point, because they're not ready to change their behavior. They're worried about how they're going to keep a roof over their kids' heads.
yes,
They're worried about how to feed their kids. They're worried about, they have all these other worries. So once we take care of the basic needs, then we could do the work.
yes,
So I learned to work the system, so in favor of my clients. So we would ask the system. So I worked outside of the system for a reason, because the bureaucracy just was too much. So we would work, and we would work with the caseworkers that were good caseworkers. We would get it done, and we would get it done quick. And then, so here, and I don't know if the statistics are still the same, but the average stay in for kids that are in care is 20 months.
mm,
And that is needs to stop, and the system is broken. So I work
yes,
outside of a broken system. And so now with everything else going on, like, now that I've been out of the child welfare game since 24, like, so for the cat first the past couple years, even though everyone's trying to drag me back in, like, I'm chilling. That's
yeah.
some hard work, and I didn't realize how heavy it was until I got out of it.
That's what
But
I
when I
read.
was in it, I was like, let's go, let's do what we gotta do. So
Yeah,
I had the most, you name it, the cases we had made the news. We took the toughest cases, and we just never said no.
yeah.
And that's how I built relationships, was handshakes and meeting people throughout the valley, and built a very successful business. And now my partners that are still running it, have made it even more successful, and it'll continue to grow. And then, little pieces of me are still there, but for the most part, the landscaping of what they do and how they do things have changed. But it's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And now I'm just being a little therapist in Vegas, just doing my own thing and trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up again.
Well, it's interesting because when my mom did work with at-risk kids, her heartstrings were pulled so hard that was her main. I mean, she did a lot of domestic violence.
I built a whole program around domestic violence.
Yeah, she had to do
Hmm.
the men's domestic violence, where the men were either the victim or the offender.
I did both. Yeah, I did
And
both.
so she would hold these like court reprimanded classes,
Yeah.
and she would come home and say, "You don't know men until you get to know men," you know. And it was interesting because they had so much respect for her. When a new guy would come in and try to kind of like manipulate, like I kind
Yeah,
of sort
like
of
the
did,
Rico Suave group.
yeah,
Yeah.
she would
Hmm.
lock that down and say, "Listen, we're not here to date. We're not here to to know each other. We're here to work.
Right,
You know,
right,
you're here for
right.
a reason. You think I'm gonna date you? No, that's not the result we're gonna get."
Right.
But just one last thing I want to ask and go kind of over is, since you were, or you said you were kind of like an at-risk youth, and
Mhm.
through all your training and your licensing, your degrees, everything that you've learned on your own practical personal level, leave all the degrees and all the achievements out, how has this whole entire journey of helping people changed you as a person?
I don't know. It's funny. So like, okay, so it's the way that my mom raised us, I guess. So like, my mom's golden rule. There was one golden rule. It's just treat people the way you want to be treated. And so I've always stuck. That's always been in the back of my head. I have my brother and I are like 18 months apart, so we were pretty much inseparable. And because I'm the oldest, like I set, the trailblaze. So he was coming up behind me, and he made better choices. He didn't make better choices than I did, but he made this. He made same choices, but got caught. I was just a little smarter.
Sorry, my little producer
No,
back
I
there
right,
is.
get comfortable.
Yeah.
And so like I think that all of the experiences that I brought prior to going into anything as an adult gave me great character. And so and I bring that all to the table because you can't leave me out of the equation. So um, my dad was an addict. The FBI watch, like just crazy stuff. I mean, there's just stuff that just he was there but never there. Like so,
Right.
like all of those things in regards to like when I talk about attachment style or when I teach and when I give little pieces of myself for a reason, and I explain those reasons why I'm giving pieces of myself because it's useful,
Hmm.
so that people know that they're not like
Alone.
that I'm first and foremost that I'm human.
Yes.
And do I have inside hurts? Yes. And have I made mistakes? And that my son's in his 30s and I look at him and I gave him gifts. I'm like shit. So now all I can do is apologize to him
Yeah.
because we give our children gifts, and so like, and then we have to apologize for those gifts, good or bad, right? And so, but for the most part, I started very young as a feminist at 3 that my mom would tell stories of me walking around, shirtless and with a broom over my shoulder that women were going to rule the world. And I still think that. So, like, I always buck the system. I don't understand. Like, at 13, my mom was telling me to put a shirt on because I didn't hit puberty till I was 17. And I was, had no shirt on with all these boys playing sports. And my mom would make me wear a shirt and never understood why. Well, the boys don't have shirts on. Why do I have to have a shirt on?
Hmm.
Because I was a girl. That didn't make sense to me. It's not fair. So I've always fought for the underdog, and so but being one of those kids and the life choices that I made, 18 was like a wake up call for me. Like I hit a wall. So everything that I wasn't supposed to do, I did before I was 21, and then anything after that was just whatever. So now that I'm in my 50s and kind of slowing down per se and like facing difficult, like not even difficult, menopausal stuff is just craziness. And so like everything just catches up to us. So
Hmm.
now it's like, yeah. So now figuring out like physical stuff and why this hurts or why that hurts and all of the things. But I think it gave me great character, and I think that it makes me a better human first and foremost. I'm grateful for my mom and my dad and what he could have, what he did while he was alive. And I have a great support system. So I have a beautiful partner, and I came out and I had a great experience. So I didn't get kicked out or anything like that, like a lot of people that do when they came out. But everybody else knew, and I'm like, why doesn't anyone tell me these things? Because it goes right over my head. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, everybody else knew I was gay before I did. So I was like, y'all could have told me.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why that doesn't ring a bell sometimes because I have relatives too, and I'm like, I've known since we were 8 years
Right.
old,
So
or
why didn't anybody just tell
yeah,
me?
yeah.
It
It
would have
just
been a whole lot easier because fear is a factor.
well, I
So
guess you have to figure it out on your own first
yeah.
because
And
they're not
so,
gonna.
but I came out in the late '80s, early '90s. So it wasn't a really like kids are coming out like way earlier these days. So
Yeah,
yeah. So that but everything I think I, I've been put on many different paths, and life has thrown me a curveball, whether or not. And then, but I think that I was meant to be a therapist, and I feel like my goal is to try to help as many people as I possibly can, and I'm not everybody's cup of tea, because
mm-hmm.
what you see is what you get. This is exactly how I show up for therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I have a baseball hat on, but usually my tattoos are out if it's hot during the summer, whatever. So
Yeah, yeah. And
yeah.
I don't think looks really because I have been to all sorts of therapists, and I've never I guess judgment. I don't know if that's the correct word
Right. So, but can
or
you see me in a power suit? Can you see me like all dressed up to a T, like wearing all professional? Like that would just make me itch.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that stuff. Like I call them wearing court clothes, and I couldn't do that every day. So, like
Right.
dressing up in like semi-professional clothing, like that's not who I am.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's why one of the reasons it freaked me out too. So if I had any freak out moments, was actually having to be a professional,
Yeah.
like to
That's
dress
yeah.
a certain way, to have to be do my hair every day, if I wore makeup, whatever the case would be. But to be like that, no. I want to walk around with my Vans, my Levi's, and my
Mm-hmm.
T-shirts, and then go help people.
Right.
And if I can do that, cool. If I can't, then I'm gonna pivot so
Yeah.
that I can still do that. Like, cause the idea of dressing up every day was like, no, okay, it makes me itch.
And I think that people feel the vibe from therapy, at least for me. When
Mm-hmm.
I went to a therapist who was a man dressed in a suit, it made me feel even more closed up.
there's a
Yeah.
there's a power dynamic, and so like if I'm meeting you where you're at and I'm dressed comfortably, just like you're dressed comfortably, I'm concerned about that power dynamic
Mm-hmm.
because I have the power, like, and so like I want to make sure that people don't, and I voice that, and I voice it a lot, that there shouldn't be a power dynamic. It's your journey, not mine.
Right.
I'm here to support you in that. And it's not my job to fix you. It's your job to fix your damn self. I got your back, but you have to do all the heavy lifting.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people like you said, you help people with tools, and it's up to
Yeah.
them to use that hammer and nail to pinpoint
Yeah.
what is wrong and to look at that once they
Yeah.
hang up all their issues on the wall with the hammer and the nail that
Yeah.
you gave them. Now they
Yeah.
can see and now they can implement and
Yeah.
adapt and grow and change, and
That's if
hopefully.
they want, people have to want to change.
Yeah, it's difficult. And I think that sometimes when you start therapy, well, obviously you're wanting to, but you're hesitant because maybe it's your first time, maybe you don't know how therapy works,
Right.
and then God forbid if you don't click with your therapist and then you have to go therapy hunting, you have to go to psychology.com or whatever, and it's like
Right.
I'm just going to pick a face that looks kind of
I
nice.
do. I do
Yeah.
the same thing. I got scroll. I'm like that. I'm gonna call this person
Yeah.
based on their look.
Yeah.
And like, and then I read a little bit, and like I'm like, I think I can relate to her. And
Yeah.
then absolutely not. I mean, I've had some bad experiences just as not even as a professional yet in therapy, and then I explain that to my clients. So like the thing is that it has to fit. Don't take it personally, or most therapists don't take it personally. Like if we don't fit, my job is to make sure that you get the help that you need.
Yeah.
So if we don't fit personality wise, or you don't like my style because I say fuck or whatever it is, then
Yeah.
it slips out. I'm
Yeah.
like, damn, shit, fuck, oh bad. So If
It's
you
like, yeah,
and if you want a Christian counselor, I'm not that person.
yeah, yeah,
But do I know Christian counselors? Yes. I can point you in a direction to give you a referral to a different counselor.
right.
So I know enough people in this valley to get you to the right therapist, or have a good idea once I talk to you for a little bit to point you in a direction for that right therapist.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Lori, I've enjoyed our conversation today so much. I've learned a lot. I know now that I can be under the eagle eye in case I try to manipulate another therapist because I,
I got you now, girl.
yeah. So I'm really, really glad that you came on. I think it's a learning curve for everyone. I think that I do have to compliment you because I'm also going to ask you here in a second where people can find you, but I think that you have the absolute open arm kind of character to every person that meets you. And that is an incredible gift to have because not everybody has that characteristic, because like I said, if I meet a guy in a suit, he's all tensed up, he's like writing his little notes and oh, I got to meet the wife or I got to meet the husband or I got to do this or I got to, and I'm like, I got problems. Write that down in your problem book, and I think that I compliment you with that because I can feel that you honestly, genuinely care about the mental health part of that of people, and you want to genuinely help them, not by judging them, not by telling them what they're doing wrong, not by, hey, well, have you thought about not doing this, have you thought about not doing that, you come across as a helper, a real honest helper, and I applaud you for that, and I'm grateful for what you do online. So I want to let our listeners know where can they find you first, just to kind of get to know you, and then if there's a way that they can contact you to become a client or anything like that. Can you tell us
Well,
where?
first of all, thank you for that compliment.
You're welcome.
And it's really hard for me to take compliments because I don't realize. Well, I do. I mean, I do and I don't. But I do realize that I can, and that's exactly how I sit. It's the posture,
Mm-hmm.
like it, and it's very genuine. And so, one of the things that I put, I am in Vegas. I'm on Psychology Today. I work for a company called Um, Insight Solution Therapy. And it's easy enough just to Google that and then find me. Or I'm on Psychology Today. It tells you what I'm all about. If you want to do therapy, I'm also on TikTok. I go by Curious all our day, and I do lives, and I do psychoeducational things, and that's just the mental health clubhouse where I act a complete fool. We have a lot of fun, and we pick a topic and run with it the whole week. So that's twice a day, Monday through Saturday. And that's new. That's just started since August. I found TikTok because I was trying to figure out how to make friends. And I feel like I've made a lot of friends and along the way and I've created a great clubhouse. So hopefully that continues to grow. And as for the life coaching thing, it's a little bit different. So if you're in Vegas, I'm licensed in Vegas. If you need therapy, just go to Insight. I'm taking clients as we speak. And you're more than welcome just to ask for me. And you can just Lori I is the best way.
Okay.
Because I don't think there's any other Loris. It's Lori, and then I is my last name.
Lori.
And
Okay.
then if you find me on Psychology Today, you'll know my first name. You'll phone my full name anyways. So, but I'm licensed right now. I'm currently licensed in Las Vegas or Nevada. I'm seeking to get licensed in other states as well. So probably some neighborhood states, looking like Arizona, Texas, and then I might get licensed in South and North Carolina again. So
Oh, okay. Well, that's awesome. And I and
yeah.
I and I applaud you for everything today. And I deeply, deeply am so grateful that you came on our podcast, took the time out. I know your time is great and valuable, and you must have 20 reminders every minute. I know I do, but
No,
maybe
it's
you're just.
not. It's not that bad anymore since I don't own my business.
Oh,
So I
okay.
do have time. I made sure that I have that balance now, and it's been my pleasure. I'm really glad that you asked me to come on and talk, and I'll come on anytime. We can talk about what it. I'm down.
Thank you so much. And I wish you a great, healthy mental health day, a fun day with your partner, fun day alone, fun day doing whatever you're going to do. And I will try to drive some traffic to your TikTok, and then they can follow you however they need to
Okay.
follow you. And
Yeah,
I
that's great.
appreciate you. I appreciate you very much, Lori. Thank you.
All right, doll. Thank you so much for inviting me again, and thank you for the compliment. It's hard. It's hard taking those compliments. I don't realize how many people I
I know.
touch, and when people tell me I touch you, I'm like, do I though? Do I? So
I had the same
those
same
inner
problem.
critics, them bastards. Okay, but
Yes.
anyway, if you want to find out what inner critics are, come on my TikTok live.
It's right
Let me
here.
tell
It's right here. Yes.
you.
Thank you
All
so
right,
much, Lori.
I appreciate you. Have a great day, love.
Thank you. You too. Bye
Thank you
bye.
again.
Bye
Take
bye.
care. Bye.
Well, once again, we'd like to thank Lori for being our guest today. She is so amazing, so fun. I have had the opportunity to join in on her TikTok lives, and they are so informative, so helpful. They're fun. She has music going, she has games going to kind of release the tension of the seriousness of what is mental health, but she makes it such a welcoming and safe space. And I encourage all of our listeners, if you need some type of therapy, even if you just visit her sessions on TikTok, and you might think about therapy, that would be the great way to start, and to start thinking about, do I need to see a therapist? Do I want to see a therapist? Do I want to work on myself? Ask your questions, those questions to yourself first. Join in on her lives. They're so amazing. And also, thank you for coming and visiting today with Brace Yourself Podcast. I am Dre, and for today, that's a wrap.